always have such ambitions for this channel, but except for my biannual voting videos, it never seems to happen. So, sorry, but here's the biannual voting video. The summary is this year, voting is probably the most important thing a left-winger or progressive can do in the United States, because it's the only thing we can do to Donald Trump that will hurt him where he cares about it. So please vote. Here's some analysis as to why. So let's start with 538. They make forecasts based on the polls. It's only as good as the polls, but the polls for the Senate say the Republicans currently have a 6 in 7 chance of keeping control, about 85%. That leaves the Democrats a 1 in 7 chance of taking it. As Democrats, we could get as many as 2 seats, which would give us full control, but the Republicans are projected to do very, very well. Get it? If the national, why are the Senate polls bad for us? Well, with the Senate, they're 6-year terms, and a third of them come up every 2 years. So you generally have 33 or 34 seats up, plus some people have died, others have retired, so you get special elections. This year, we got 35 seats up for election. They're all blue. They're mostly blue. 23 Democrats are not. 42 Republicans are not. So we're in red territory, we're defending a lot of our people in red territory. People like Heidi Heitkamp, who just voted against Brett Kavanaugh, projected to lose by about 5. But she could win if people show up. Now, if she loses, what will the political literati say? They will say Heidi Heitkamp should have voted for Brett Kavanaugh. So it would be absolutely horrible for us if she loses. So if you're in North Dakota, show the fuck up. Minnesota, there's another tight race. The Republicans have a shot. Again, vote. Indiana, Donnelly's down about 3. Actually, let's go back to North Dakota. See, she's down 5. Generally, the polls are off by 2 or 3. And if the pollsters have made a wrong guess about who will vote, their number will be wrong. You know, if they think everyone who votes is going to be an old white person, then Kramer's going to have 2 or 3 extra points in the poll. You knock off 3 of Kramer's points, you give them to Heitkamp, she wins. So it's very important that people vote in races, especially in races like hers. Missouri, McCaskill, she's up a little. She needs help. Show up. Tennessee, nobody likes Nobody likes Phil Bredesen, but everybody hates Blackburn more. Show up. Florida, Nelson, he's boring. He's kind of moderate, but he's not Rick Scott. There's actually a competitive race in Mississippi. To actually win, you'd have to get 50%, but it would be really cool to force a runoff or come in first in Mississippi. Make them play defense. Ted Cruz actually has... O'Rourke is actually in about the same position as Heitkamp, but again, you show up, he's got a good chance of winning. You want to put Sinema over the top. The new version of Sinema is much more moderate than the old version, but it doesn't matter how moderate she is. She's more lefty of McSally. Dean Heller, please knock him off. Please, just show up in it. This is a report from nonprofitvote.org on turnout in the 2014 midterms that really kind of shows the numbers of why progressives, particularly young progressives turning out, can change those races. So we'll skip over a bunch. Introduction, their methodology, their summary. Here's the first number that's interesting. As you can see, presidential years, almost more than half the country shows up, generally around 60%. Non-presidential years, it's about 40%. Was worse in 2014. And that means you show up, you're doing, in those years, your vote has a lot more power because you're competing with less voters. And the reason, and one of the main big groups that drops off are young voters. So, let's see. Young voters, 36% presidential year, 26 in 14. It falls 10%. That means if those 10 points of people had showed up in 2014, we very well may have taken Congress. We've got a good Senate map in a couple of years. The 2014 class of senators, that's a good map for us. We could have made it better. So, you know, this is actual youth turnout. 20% of youth vote. 37% total vote. That means to get to that 37%, the non-youth people had to turn out at more than 37%. Or you don't get an average of 37. You gotta have 21 plus some number above 37 to average out to 37. So again, if if the 18 to 29 show up at 37, make 37% of the electorate, we'll be doing fine. Heitkamp will be a shoo-in. We'll take the Senate. A lot of Republicans will have to worry very, very much about this powerful youth vote that's going to come and kill them in 2 years. So, fucking vote.